Marcus Chen had worked at the Rothwell building for 3 years. But it wasn't until the anniversary of his daughter's death that the elevator began stopping at floor 13, a floor that didn't exist on any building plans. The Rothwell building stood 47 stories tall in downtown Seattle, a glass and steel monument to modern architecture. Marcus worked on the 32nd floor for a tech startup, one of dozens of companies crammed into the building's pristine offices. He'd taken the same elevator every day, pressed the same worn button, listened to the same mechanical hum as cables pulled him skyward. But on a gray Tuesday morning in October, exactly 1 year after Sarah had died in that car accident, something changed. Marcus entered the elevator at 7:47 a.m., earlier than usual. The building was nearly empty, just security guards and a few ambitious executives scattered throughout. He pressed 32, watched the doors slide shut, and leaned against the back wall, closing his eyes. The elevator lurched upward, floor 58, 11. Then it slowed. Marcus opened his eyes. The digital display read 13 in flickering red numbers. His stomach dropped. There was no 13th floor in the Rothwell building. Like many skyscrapers, it jumped from 12 to 14, a concession to superstition. The doors opened. Beyond lay not an office corridor, but a narrow hallway bathed in sickly yellow light. The walls were covered in peeling floral wallpaper that looked decades old, completely out of place in the modern building. The air smelled of mothballs and something else, something sweet and rotting. Marcus jabbed the closed door button. Nothing happened. The elevator waited, patient as a predator. From somewhere down that impossible hallway came a sound that made his blood freeze. A child's laughter. Sarah's laughter. His daughter had been 8 when the drunk driver ran the red light. 8 years old, with Marcus's eyes and her mother's smile, gone in an instant of twisted metal and shattered glass. The laughter came again, closer now. Daddy, Marcus's hand trembled on the elevator's steel rail. It couldn't be. Sarah was dead. He'd identified her body, attended her funeral, spent a year drowning in grief and therapy and sleepless nights. Daddy, I'm scared. The voice was perfect. Every inflection, every note exactly as he remembered. Against every instinct screaming in his mind, Marcus stepped out of the elevator. The hallway stretched longer than seemed possible, doors lining both sides. Each door had a small window at eye level, like the viewing slots in a psychiatric ward. As Marcus passed the first door, he glanced through. Inside was a hospital room. An elderly woman lay in bed, machines beeping around her. A younger woman, her daughter, by the resemblance, held her hand, sobbing. The elderly woman's eyes were fixed on the ceiling, unseeing. Then she blinked, turned her head toward the door, and looked directly at Marcus. "Help me," she mouthed. Marcus stumbled backward. The younger woman in the room showed no sign of seeing him. She continued crying over what appeared to be a corpse that was somehow still moving, still pleading. The laughter came again from further down the hall. "Daddy, come find me." Marcus ran toward the sound, passing more doors. Through one, a man hung from a noose, his feet kicking at empty air, while his family ate dinner below him, oblivious. Through another, a woman drowned in a bathtub, while her husband watched TV in the next room, the sound turned up to drown out her splashing. Each room showed a death. Each victim saw Marcus. Each one begged for help he couldn't give. The hallway ended at a red door marked with the number 13. Sarah's laughter echoed from beyond it. Marcus's hand shook as he turned the knob. The room inside was their old living room, perfectly recreated. Sarah sat on the carpet, playing with the wooden blocks he'd bought her for her 7th birthday. She looked up as he entered, and her face broke into that smile that had always melted his heart. "Daddy, you found me." She ran to him, and despite everything, Marcus dropped to his knees and caught her in his arms. She felt real, warm, solid, smelling of the strawberry shampoo Amy had always used on her hair. "I missed you so much," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I missed you too," Sarah said, "but I've been waiting here. They said you'd come." "Who said?" Sarah pulled back, and her expression shifted to something Marcus had never seen on his daughter's face. Ancient, knowing, hungry. The room flickered like a bad film reel. For an instant, Marcus saw the truth. Sarah's body mangled and broken, her face half gone, bones jutting through torn skin. The living room was a morgue drawer, cold metal, and the stench of formaldehyde. Then it snapped back. Sarah, whole and perfect, smiled at him with too many teeth. "Stay with me, Daddy, please. It's so lonely here." Marcus scrambled backward. This wasn't his daughter. It was something wearing her face, speaking with her voice. But the eyes were wrong, black, and empty, and endless. "You're not Sarah." The thing's smile widened impossibly. "I'm what's left. I'm what waits. I'm the echo of the last moment, playing forever." It tilted its head. "Don't you want to be with your daughter?" "My daughter is dead." "Yes," it said, taking a step forward. "And so are you." Marcus ran. The thing wearing Sarah's face laughed. That perfect childhood giggle twisted into something monstrous. He burst through the red door and sprinted down the hallway, past the windows, where the dead watched with desperate eyes. The elevator waited, doors still open. Marcus threw himself inside and hammered the close door button. This time, it responded. As the doors slid shut, he caught a glimpse of Sarah standing at the end of the hall, waving goodbye, her arm bent at an impossible angle. The same angle it had bent in the accident. The elevator rose. 1420, 28, 32. The doors opened on his office floor. Normal fluorescent lights, the smell of coffee, the distant tap of keyboards. Marcus stumbled out on shaking legs. "You okay, man?" Tom from accounting stood by the elevator bank, coffee in hand. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Marcus laughed, high and hysterical. Something like that. He made it through the day somehow. Buried himself in spreadsheets, and meetings. Anything to avoid thinking about floor 13. But as 5 p.m. approached, dread settled in his stomach like ice. He'd have to take the elevator down. Marcus waited until the building was nearly empty, hoping that would make a difference. He pressed the call button with a trembling finger. When the doors opened, the elevator was not empty. An elderly woman stood in the corner, the same one he'd seen dying in the hospital room. She smiled at him with clouded eyes. "Going down?" she asked. Marcus backed away. "I'll take the stairs." But when he pushed open the stairwell door, the stairs didn't lead down. They led to a familiar hallway with peeling floral wallpaper. Over the next days, Marcus tried everything. Different elevators, different times, even the freight elevator. But every elevator in the Rothwell building now stopped at floor 13, and every time there were more people inside. The hanged man, the drowned woman, others he didn't recognize, all with that same hungry smile. They never forced him to get off at 13. They just waited, patient as death itself. Marcus stopped sleeping. He saw Sarah everywhere, in reflections, in shadows, in the corner of his eye. She stood at his apartment window at night. She sat in the back seat of his car. She whispered from the drain when he showered, "Come back, Daddy. The others want to meet you." He tried to warn building security, but they looked at him with pity and suggested he take some time off. His manager agreed. Stress, they said. Grief could do strange things to a person. Marcus knew better. He researched the Rothwell building's history, spending hours in the library and online. What he found chilled him to the bone. The building sat on the site of the old Rothwell Hospital, demolished in 1962. The hospital had been notorious for patient deaths, suicides, murders, medical accidents. The city had closed it after a fire killed 13 people, trapped in a locked ward. They died slowly, clawing at the doors. 13 people. Floor 13. Marcus understood then. The elevator wasn't malfunctioning. It was working exactly as intended, stopping at a floor that existed between spaces, where the echoes of violent death played out in endless loops. And something in that space had learned to fish for the living, using their grief as bait. He tried to stay away from the building, but Seattle felt smaller every day. He'd see the Rothwell building from impossible distances, its glass face reflecting nothing but darkness. His apartment building sprouted new elevators overnight. Even single-story buildings suddenly had elevators, all with that telltale gap between floors 12 and 14. They were spreading. The spaces between were growing. A month after his first encounter with floor 13, Marcus gave up. He entered the Rothwell building after midnight, using his keycard one last time. The security guard didn't look up from his newspaper, or perhaps couldn't see Marcus anymore. The elevator was waiting, doors open. Inside stood a crowd of the dead, leaving just enough space for one more. Sarah stood at the front, holding out her hand. She looked exactly as she had the day she died, the frozen backpack and light-up sneakers. Ready to come home, Daddy? Marcus looked at her hand, small, pale, with dirt under the fingernails from her grave. He thought about the promotion he'd never get, the apartment he'd never finish decorating, the life stretching ahead of him, full of empty Christmases and silent birthdays. He took her hand. It was cold as winter earth. The elevator rose to floor 13. And this time, when the doors opened, Marcus saw it clearly. Not a hallway, but a vast space filled with moments frozen in amber, thousands of deaths playing out simultaneously, overlapping and interweaving, a symphony of endings. "Welcome," Sarah said, but her voice was older now, ancient. "We've been waiting so long for someone who could see, someone who could help us spread. Every building needs a floor 13, she said. Every elevator needs someone to push the buttons. Someone who knows what it's like to lose everything." Marcus understood. He wasn't joining them. He was being recruited. "Why me?" "Because you came back," Sarah said. "Most people see floor 13 once and never return. They take the stairs. They move away. They forget. But you kept looking for her, even though you knew she was gone. That kind of love is useful." The elevator doors began to close. "Wait," Marcus said. But the doors sealed shut, and the elevator began to move, not up or down, but sideways, through spaces that shouldn't exist. Marcus watched the floor counter spin wildly. 13A, 13B, 13C. An infinity of hidden floors spreading through every building in the city. "Your job is simple," Sarah said, except it wasn't Sarah anymore. It was something vast and patient, wearing her memory like clothing. "Ride the elevators, all of them. When you find someone special, someone grieving, someone lost, make sure they find floor 13. "I won't." "You will." It smiled with his daughter's face, because every time you do, you get to see her again. The real her, not just the echo. For a few seconds, she's alive, and she loves you, and she's not afraid. The elevator stopped. The doors opened on a familiar scene, their old kitchen, Sarah eating breakfast before school. She looked up at him with those bright, living eyes. "Morning, Daddy. Can you drive me today?" Marcus's resolve crumbled. He sat down at the table, picked up the coffee Amy had left for him, and savored these stolen moments. Now Marcus rides the elevators of Seattle. He looks like any other businessman, tired, distracted, checking his phone. But he's searching for the grieving ones, the broken ones, the ones who do anything for one more moment with the dead. When he finds them, he makes sure they're alone in the elevator. He presses the button for their floor and steps out just before the doors close. "Oh," he says, casual as can be. "Careful. Sometimes this elevator stops at 13. They laugh, usually. Tell him there is no floor 13, but the seed is planted. And when their grief is heaviest, when the anniversary comes around, when they're alone in that metal box between floors, the elevator slows, the numbers flicker. The doors open on a hallway that shouldn't exist. And somewhere in that impossible space, their loved ones wait with empty smiles and patient hunger. Marcus collects his payment in moments. Sarah's first bike ride, her 7th birthday, the day she learned to read. He knows they're not real, just echoes of echoes, but they're all he has. The spaces between grow wider. More buildings sprout floor 13s. The dead multiply in their sealed rooms, performing their final moments for an audience of the desperate. The Rothwell building still stands, patient as a tombstone. Its elevators run all night, carrying their cargo of the living and the dead between floors that exist and floors that shouldn't. Sometimes, late at night, you can see the lights flicker on floor 13, a floor that isn't on any blueprint, that doesn't appear in any directory. But the elevators know where to find it. They always have.